the NXT TakeOver pay-per-view. This is going to be our second somewhat triple threat topic of the day. We're not really doing the triple threat topics today necessarily. We're just kind of talking about WrestleMania weekend. But so the NXT pay-per-view. This is always a nice little precursor for WrestleMania each Saturday.
Or any pay-per-view, any major pay-per-view.
Yeah. These pay-per-views are always good. They put more emphasis on the matches, which I enjoy. I've always been a big wrestling match fan, in WWE. The storylines are great and all that stuff, but as long as the match is good, that's all I care about.
True that.
These NXT matches are always really good, and I don't watch the builds. I don't watch NXT. I don't have time to watch 3 wrestling shows in the week, but they always do a good enough job of showing you what's happened and then having outstanding matches. And wow, do we have a freaking card this Saturday. Okay, so let's talk about this, because we just mentioned that WrestleMania, we talked about a lot of different fights. There's like 5 or 6 main events for this WrestleMania, and then I think there's 3 legitimate main events for this NXT card too, maybe even 4.
That North American title, the North American ladder match.
Ryan, explain to people who's in that match, just to get people excited.
You know what? We got Prince Puma, Ricochet. You got EC3 just came over from Impact.
I forgot he was even in that match. This is gonna be unbelievable.
EC3. You got Lars Sullivan. You got Adam Cole, baby.
Adam Cole, baby.
Who else? All I can think of is the Velveteen Dream. How could I forget about the Velveteen Dream? Okay, and then you got 2 other people who are probably.
You have Killian Dane's last one.
Okay, yeah, no.
You gotta have those big guys in the match occasionally, though. It's a ladder match. It's a 6-man ladder match for the NXT North American Championship. That is going to be amazing.
Why do you think NXT can just do so many more innovative things than the main roster? I think it's personally because you don't have Vince McMahon overseeing it. He's not controlling every nuance, and you have Triple H just kind of controlling the situation. Now, a lot of people say, well, NXT was much better when Dusty Rhodes was alive and Dusty Rhodes was booking the show.
I kind of disagree with that. I think it's just as good now. I don't think there's much of a difference.
I think the pay-per-views, though, constantly outshine the main show.
Well,
they embarrass the main shows.
I have a theory why that happens, and I think it's because it's the old thing with like Brock Lesnar, where he doesn't wrestle all the time and he's not on every single show. So when he has a match, and his luster's even fallen off a little bit now, like, hey, this match at WrestleMania, it's probably going to be a good match with him and Roman Reigns, but it's like, okay, Brock's Brock, we've seen this match before, all that stuff. I think with the NXT stuff, since we don't watch NXT, all 3 of us don't watch NXT every week, and I think a lot of fans don't watch NXT every single week. I think they just watch the pay-per-views. I believe that it's a little bit of the case of it's like everything special, because we don't get to see these guys every single week, so we really only get to see them 2 or 3 months out of like every 2 months, really. So I think the reason why we always get excited is we're like, oh man, that match was really good, and we hadn't seen these guys in a long time. I feel like if you watched NXT every single week, you wouldn't think these pay-per-views are as good as they really are, because maybe you're disappointed in the way a storyline was built, stuff like that. But I'm not going to take anything away from NXT. They put on fantastic shows, and a lot of times they do outshine the previous pay-per-view. I don't think they've outshined the WrestleMania yet, because WrestleMania you have bigger personalities, and when you got a guy like The Rock
they got a long way to go. That's for sure.
Or you have a guy like The Undertaker wrestling, that's going to be better than anything an NXT show is going to show.
Well, here's the thing. For NXT, less is more. That's the number 1 rule in this one. And
take notes, WrestleMania.
And here's the thing: the people that say that it hasn't been good since Dusty Rhodes, I think these are the same people that now look at some of these superstars that went from NXT that are right now in the current roster, like Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, also guys like Nakamura. These guys, the reason why they're saying that is because now these wrestlers are top stars. These are top stars that Dusty Rhodes, when he was present, and looking at these superstars right now, I think either WWE is right now running out of some of the stars that they are recruiting for NXT, or some of these superstar. And I gotta say this: these are great athletes. Guys like Aleister Black, Adam Cole, his Red Dragon,
EC3, Ricochet. You don't get better athlete than Ricochet.
All these guys, they're great athletes. I think it's just that these fans are just not really familiar with them, or they don't even know who Ricochet's really is. And I don't think there are people out there who followed EC3's career, even when he was in Impact Wrestling. Adam Cole, even though he was a top player in Ring of Honor, I don't think there are many fans out there who were familiar with him as well. For us, we were extremely familiar with these guys. It's just that a lot of these people who were fans of NXT when Dusty Rhodes was around, they're just these are just top stars now, and it's easy for them to look back at the old NXT and say that's better before.
Yeah, I mean, my only concern is that performance center. That performance center was built to make sure that you have top superstars inbred, homegrown. It kind of reminds me of WCW when they had their power plant.
Yeah, that's good.
So, my only concern and my only issue with NXT is we're getting a lot of these superstars are mid-30s, late 30s. We're getting them from the indie scene. We're poaching talent from here and there. I want us to have homegrown stars, and I think you really need to push those homegrown stars. And I like what Velveteen said on his Twitter a few weeks ago, a month ago. He said, "I'm tired of these stars coming in outside of the business who aren't homegrown anymore." Which is ironic because he was on the independents before he got to Tough Enough. Nobody knows that, but he was wrestled a little bit.
He was young,
and he wrestled a little bit too. So I mean, my only issue is you have to make sure that you're homegrown talent. So how many homegrown talents do we have at this NXT pay-per-view
at this
up?
NXT pay-per-view? Okay,
well,
and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong with that, but I believe the Authors of Pain are homegrown.
Yeah, I think they're homegrown.
Velveteen Dream, like you mentioned.
Well, he's mostly homegrown. He did a little bit of indie, but
no, but he didn't get. He got signed. He was a Tough Enough guy.
Yeah,
that's why he's. He wasn't signed off.
And he was developed at the Performance Center. Developed his gimmick at the Performance Center. So yeah.
Shayna Baszler is fighting for the women's championship.
Oh yeah, she's definitely homegrown.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't think Andrade Almas is.
No,
he's
not
from
Mexico.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, definitely not. They poached him from AAA.
Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne not. They seem like they're
Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, which we'll talk about in a moment, which is a fantastic.
What about like
feud?
a Killian Dane or Lars Sullivan?
Do we know? I believe Lars is homegrown.
Homegrown?
Yeah. And Killer, I don't know. I don't know the deal with him. I'm gonna say he's homegrown. If y'all know, y'all leave a message in the comments.
Exactly. We're not the biggest on some of the. Like I said, we don't watch NXT every week, so we kind of get into enjoy these matches. But
I just watch the pay-per-views, and I don't have time to watch NXT. I don't, But I mean, I think I am a little concerned regarding what's happening with the homegrown situation at the Performance Center.
But
are you really making superstars there, or are you poaching superstars? Because sooner or later, those superstars are going to run out, and you're going to look around and be like, "Where's our superstars?"
Yeah, that's true. No, but there's somewhat. I mean, Alexa Bliss is homegrown, and she's been one of the best female wrestlers the last year or two. Right?
Okay.
She's won both titles. Charlotte is homegrown.
Yes, she
homegrown
is.
with a wrestling father, but still homegrown.
Nia Jax.
Homegrown.
Sasha Banks sort of is homegrown. She had some experience on the indies.
Yeah, kind of. Bayley's not. Isn't Roman Reigns homegrown?
Yes, Roman Reigns is the definition of homegrown.
Yeah, so you have some of the main events of WrestleMania here. We have some homegrown people.
Yes.
So it's not like you're 100% right. You look at this. Hey, Adam Cole was in Ring of Honor and all this stuff.
In New Japan
was a TNA guy. Aleister Black was definitely an independence guy. Yeah. You go through this. Ricochet, 100%. Johnny Gargano, Ciampa, the definition of independent wrestling.
Yeah.
So, you have it, but I think they've done a good job of, at least in NXT, keeping these guys hot and keeping them. I think that with a 1-hour show, it's easier to build guys because you don't have them on TV every single week.
So do you think it's harder for these guys then because they're going from independent to a professional independent in NXT to get to the main roster and establish an identity?
I think so.
Because I look at a guy like Finn Balor. He had so much buzz around him at NXT, and he has just fizzled off. He is just not as popular.
Yeah, I think it was. You know what?
The injury prone, and I think is a matter of not having a gimmick. But he could have found something while he was in NXT. You're comfortable in NXT, and I've heard a lot of superstars from Bayley, Sasha Banks, all these wrestlers have said, "Hey, look, I really miss NXT because I was in just a comfortable atmosphere and I think in NXT there is an independent vibe. Yes, it's professional, it's the WWE, but it's still an independent vibe. You still have some of those hardcore fans, those dudes who, like I said, man, they be having, internet. They have Ring of Honor or New Japan on one side, one thing, and then you got the other site on another one. Yeah. All right, you got the other side in another browser. You know what I'm talking about, too.
That's not. I wouldn't consider us that way, but
we're not that way.
Ryan and I a couple months ago debated on going to a house show for NXT in Riverside, California. Yeah. So we're getting there. We're getting a little closer. But
look, man, I gotta say, the thing is that it's great that a lot of these wrestlers from the independents make that name for themselves in NXT. I can totally agree with Bayley and a lot of these superstars who say that they're in a really comfortable position in NXT because almost everybody is new. Everybody is new in NXT, even to the cameraman, even to the people in the production truck. Triple H has said it himself. He says that we teach camera people. We teach people in the production truck.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. It was on Austin's podcast. He says, look at these guys who are right now doing the production with me and Austin. I mean, these guys are not going to last that long.
What?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. They're not going to last that long? So they're going to get fired in 5 minutes?
What a douchebag comment.
It looked like it was
man, he's burying cameraman, too, man. Jeez. Man, that shovel knows no bounds, man. There is no depth to that shovel, man. There is no end to it.
He's burying more people than Cena, right?
Good Lord.
Yeah. He's burying more people than an actual Undertaker.
Good God. These people aren't going to last very long. I'm like, what?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I did not know that he buried cameramen like that.
We don't have to look that up,
At
Eric.
least he's not.
I mean, I don't want to get sued, man.
See, and we should have known. We should have known that because all these NXT guys are not getting buried in NXT. Someone was getting buried.
Somebody's getting buried, man. Yeah.
Even the intern.
Yeah.
He puts him in harm's way.
Yeah, puts him in harm's way.
He's like, yeah, by the way, just get right next to Ricochet when he goes to do that backflip off the ropes.
So we better. So what's the advice? Should we not intern for NXT or?
I'm interning for WWE. It's safer environment.
WWE Studios or something. Oh, let's talk some more about this card, man.
Well,
I want to talk about.
I want to go through the card real quick.
What about Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano?
Well, that's going to be amazing. Yeah,
that needs to be the main event.
Well, that's a build. That's the rare NXT storyline that you're going to see. Like this major storyline that's been happening. What is that since TakeOver or
TakeOver last year in June of last year at Brooklyn.
The SummerSlam one.
And I heard one of my wrestling podcasters that I listened to say you should have actually had this match at the June pay-per-view Money in the Bank because it would be 1 year removed from the Money in the Bank or the NXT TakeOver when he turned on him, when Tommaso Ciampa turned on Johnny Gargano. So I'm going to let you continue, but this Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa feud is old-fashioned blood feud wrestling with a new age twist. With a new age twist to it. And I freaking love it.
Yeah, no. And the good thing about this storyline and all that stuff, have you guys seen you've obviously seen them attack each other and do all that stuff. There's been videos of
Johnny Gargano just busting down his house, beating down his house.
Tommaso Ciampa yelling at old ladies in the stands. He's really good, real keeping kayfabe alive for this.
Heel right there, man.
But they had Ciampa talking to a bunch of those Johnny Gargano masks, and then all of a sudden one of them was Johnny Gargano. So
that was cool.
It's been a great build. Obviously, this has really been a build since Ciampa beat the hell out of him on the top of the stage.
And that's how you build a heel, man. That is how you build a heel.
Well, you know what's funny? This is actually one of those storylines that was actually helped out by an injury, too. Because this might have happened earlier if Ciampa wouldn't have got injured during that attack. So there's somewhat this. You mentioned that they could have waited till June. I think they probably were scheduling to do this earlier, and they just, it's going to happen in WrestleMania now.
And it helped because you had to see Johnny Gargano fail by himself with
true.
no true enemy besides himself. It was really himself. And so Tommaso Ciampa's coming back, and he's the heel, and he's like, oh, look, It's you. You're the true problem. You were the problem and why we broke up, and you were
Fantastic.
the problem and why we couldn't.
just
and why you couldn't win the
absolutely fantastic.
championship. That's just how you do it, man. Oh my goodness.